Welcome to Victoria Park for the last time as an AFL venue after one...
Still in that forward pocket area. The Magpies try and get it out. Notting hooks it back in front of goal. Lynch, he couldn't mark out. A lot of mistakes being made off the ground by Johnson. Is still going in hard. Burns is caught. And the umpire really letting it go. A pretty ordinary passage of play going on here, actually. It's finally out to Ola Renshaw, and that was given to him by Lane. Close to the boundary line. Ashcroft. Not a lot happening at the moment. Ashcroft bends it back. Johnson waited for it. Here's Sean Hart, a quick kick at goal. Another mistake. It's kicked back to the... Well, we'll have a look at the Collingwood, but that was the worst bit of football I've ever seen in my life.
That's right, it was a bit sloppy, but the Collingwood bench, Stephen Patterson, Nick Davis, Parker Lockyer and Gavin Krasiska. And for Brisbane, they've got some problems. Michael Voss and Simon Black are still in the rooms with the club physio.
McRae gets
and
his
on the bench, Power and Clark.
Tonight, a stunning...
Well, after a scramble as a leader from the pack, Craig McRae kicked his 4th goal, and Brisbane are rollicking on here against the Pies. Ashcroft wrapped up in midfield. Remarkable for Ashcroft. He's played 159 games straight. Hasn't missed a game since 1992, and after Jimmy Steins retired at the end of last year, that is the current record. 159 without a miss for Marcus Ashcroft. Back in the middle, Keating just winning everything, dominating the ruck. And Hart is swamped. The umpire will ball it up once more.
And to think that shortly they'll probably take Keating off, and on comes Matthew Clark.
Yeah, fresh ruckman, a terrific centre square ruckman also jumps early. Brad Scott looks like he's got the job now on Nathan Buckley.
Here's Batheris getting a tough kick away. Did pretty well there. Crow, beautiful kick. He put it out to the left for Brown. Buckley front of the pack. Rocker's there as well. His hand pass is knocked down. Once again, it's a scrap at ground level. Tarrant flips the ball up, but Brisbane whip it away. Lepich and Ashcroft.
Ashcroft has been a very good player for a number of years now. He's on centre wing. He's looking for the short one because he's got running players everywhere. Look at this. That's terrific play by Lepich. He runs to half forward from full back. Puts it to a one-on-one. Lynch takes front position. Couldn't mark. Malloy against Shawbull. Malloy used his body well. Lynch from the boundary line. Hooks it back at goal, and across the face, it just bounces before it went over the line.
Just a couple of examples why Brisbane Lions are a very good team. Just their momentum of their bodies going through the contest that little bit harder than Collingwood. Malloy was an example against Shawbull.
Well, it's 25 metres out, socket off the ground. That was by White, and through it goes for a behind.
And also, Pete, one area of the game that Chris Tarrant has to improve in. He has to be aware of when Lepich is about to run. He just stood back and spectated, put too much pressure on the midfield group to cover. Lepich charged forward, received the change direction, and set up a scoring opportunity for the Brisbane team.
Oh, Buckley's kicking it wide. Oh, it's going to be a photo finish.
Good kick.
Just marked it inside Scotty Burns. So Burns, he looks up, and there's going to be a contest whatever happens. Players are swooping from everywhere. Shawbull couldn't mark it. Ola Renshaw did pretty well then. Now it's flicked out. Lambert working hard. That was good play by Lambert. Socketed off the ground. Burns. Johnson. Oh, the ball. He didn't judge it too well, but he goes back after it again. He's got Ashcroft in support. Ashcroft kicks it to half forward where Licuria. Oh, he drops a mark too, but a pretty windy day. It wasn't. They're not easy any mark today.
It's a throw. Throw against Licuria, much the same as in an earlier quarter against the Brisbane Lions here. The scoop against Power. On that occasion, the free kick was deemed. Nigel Lappin is a recipient.
He runs around, Burns on the mark, and kicks to centre half forward. Lawrence slides in and takes the mark for Brisbane right in front. Well, let's hope not, but this could finish up being a rout. It's 40 points the lead already to Brisbane, and we're only early in the 3rd quarter. Plenty of wind-assisted time. And by 3/4 time, they might well have taken Collingwood right out of this contest. Lawrence, 40 metres right in front, starts it right. Breeze works on it a bit, but not enough.
It'll be interesting over the summer months how Collingwood go about rectifying their current situation. They're just playing too loose. Last week against the Kangaroos, they were very accountable. They worked hard in tight. Whereas in the space of 7 days, whether it's through inexperience or youth trying to maintain consistent levels, they just haven't been able to match the Brisbane team today in most departments.
Believe it or not, they don't look all that fired up either.
Their body language isn't good.
No, I just wonder whether the occasion has been too much for some of the young guys. Here's Lucuria, punched away by Keating. He does a lot of, well, Mick, he does a lot of disciplined things, doesn't he? Team-orientated things.
Well, there was another example, Pete. You spoke highly of him all day today. Lucuria sort of waited for the footy to come to his hands, whereas Keating jumped into the contest. Those little 6 inches things, that's the width of your body. You've just got to get your body in first in the line of the footy.
What great play by Ashcroft. Quick kick. Oh, he's missed it, Scotland. Darryl White is there with Malloy. Scotland. Malloy brilliantly done to Brad Scott. Brad Scott will hook it goal. He's hooked it too far and he's missed. But those Brisbane forwards work particularly hard even when they haven't got the ball.
Lucuria is coming from the ground. Patterson's coming on. There's Eddie Maguire in the makeshift stand. Obviously a worried man looking at what Nathan Buckley could possibly do on this kick-in, but Patterson's going to the forward part of the ground. He'll be picked up by Eustace.
And Peter McKenna, I think you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about the enormity of the situation and the occasion. Collingwood, a very young side. The occasion was either going to lift them to a higher level or, as you see time and time again, get the better of them, and you can tell they're just too nervous.
Renshaw in hard, but Lambert even harder. It's Lambert who gets the ball out. This is terrific. Comes out to Notting. He's gone. Turn the ball over. Collingwood have it. And Lane across the ground. Johnson comes to make a contest with Michael. It spills to Freeborn. Freeborn spots a player but doesn't deliver it well. Lawrence in front. Works to the line. Well done, Stevie Lawrence.
And that's another example, Drew, of playing the percentage. He knew he had to put his back in between his opponent and the footy. Instead of trying to mark the ball and let the ball drop at his feet, he actually punched the ball across the boundary line, live to fight another day, get the midfield group back in the contest.
Brad Scott again now picking up Buckley. The two number 5s on each other. Hart keeps it in and gains 40 metres. And it's out of bounds up near the 50 for Brisbane, who lead 9 goals 8 to 3 goals 3. And unfortunately at the moment, Brisbane are raining on Collingwood's parade.
Yes, it's sad for the crowd, actually, because there's a bit of a hush has gone around the crowd because the Magpies getting well trounced at the moment. They're 7 goals down. It's shuffled out to Olorenshaw. He was trying to head for the boundary line. Here's Tyson Lane receiving from Mark Richardson. Rocker way out at centre wing. Gives it off. Tyson Lane. Tarrant has led to the pocket, but Leppich read that beautifully. And Leppich's going to transfer play here to White. White's got loose men running for him. He's going to kick it wide. Oh, they do love to run. This is Chris Scott. Here's Lappin. Oh, Ackermanis is running too. He's coming inside to Kennedy. He can go wide to Ackermanis. This is brilliant football. Ackermanis onto the left. Brings it into Lynch. Oh, that is champagne football. You wouldn't see better football than that anywhere, Mick.
Yeah, especially with these conditions. They're just handling the ball like a dry day. Ackermanis continued to run onto his left side. Knows he's got terrific skills. Gave himself a little bit of space between himself and the chaser. But as you said, Pete, use of the ball in terms of effectiveness, these two sides are miles apart in terms of class.
Alistair Lynch for a goal. Number 4, he has kicked it.
Ball back in the centre. Pretty cool, dark day here in Melbourne. And it's heading towards being a very dark day for Collingwood in their final appearance at Victoria Park. Hart ridden into the ground, and the umpire will ball it up. As you look around this ground, there are the famous Collingwood names up on the grandstand. My mate Peter McKenna right alongside. Lee Matthews is in the visiting coach's box, having coached Collingwood to a premiership in 1990. But you look at the names, the Rose brothers, the Toomey brothers, Len Thompson, Ray and Tony Shaw, and all sorts of tradition to lift Collingwood, but they haven't been able to match it today. How good's Darryl White? Absolutely sensational by White, but he gave it away to Lane. Midfield. Is that a mark or a free kick? Play on, nothing for it. Gee, the Collingwood fans didn't like that too much. It's taken by Brad Scott. A high ball inside the 50. Richardson wrestling. Rocker came over the top of him. Neither of them have got the footy. Chris Johnson's a chance for Brisbane. Ball taken towards the line. He's just about holding it, the Collingwood player. Play on, says the umpire. Michael on all fours. The hand pass away. Buckley to tidy up. He's lost it. Brad Scott, centering kick, discipline, well coached Brisbane. And they could come from last to a premiership in 1 year, and nobody's ever done it in the AFL.
Ola Renshaw gets it out to Patterson. He just kicks blindly. He didn't look. He was under pressure. He just kicked it wildly, and waiting for it was Kennedy, who's going to... Oh, he's kicked into the man coming towards him. He had a loose man. Crow. Lawrence worked hard. Lambert dived on it. He might lose this holding the ball if he's not careful. Still, that was Lawrence that time. Ackermanis is quick. White, a very sure ball handler. Ola Renshaw was working hard there. Whoa. Scotty Burns ran into a brick wall. He's pretty tough, though. It didn't hurt him. And the umpire will have to bounce this one. The umpire was letting it go then, Brian Sheehan.
Yeah, pretty good umpiring by the umpire. Kept the footy alive. It looked like initially it was a head-high contact to Scott Burns. Good decision there by the umpire when you watch it in slow motion. But Collingwood has still got a man up. There is a game to be won.
Oh, just tackling all over the field, and Brisbane just in numbers and their skills bring it forward again. Here's a high tackle though, free kick to Collingwood, and the fans yell as though they've never had a free kick ever. It's to Ola Renshaw. Rocker now back in defence. He kicks wide, past Lockyer it goes, centre wing, defensive side of the ground. He keeps it in. A real kick and hope job. Kuskis. Oh, he's too slow. He's gone. Great tackle by Orchard. It spills to Tarrant, but it'll come back, and Orchard will take his free kick.
Yeah, good play, Tarrant. He realised that if the advantage hadn't been played, he was running onto his right leg. Low percentage, actually stopped and propped, waited for Orchard to find his feet. The ball would have been brought back. Good play.
Great inspiration from nearly the smallest bloke on the team, Orchard.
And the quickest.
And the crowd want Rocket to bomb one from about 70 metres. He's got no hope into that breeze. In fact, that's a shocking kick straight to Keating.
Right, but there was no effort by the Collingwood forwards to get out to Keating and make a contest of it. Kennedy further afield to McRae, Notting, 6 goals last week. There's no excuse for a guy when the ball's floating in the air that the forwards don't at least rush out and contest the mark. You can't let a bloke mark on his own. I think Collingwood's performance, making excuses for the enormity of the occasion, I think it's been very, very ordinary.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I don't think you can take into account the pre-match hype and all that. There's a game of footy to be won. That doesn't change week to week. They've just been totally outplayed.
Yeah, no, dead right. Now, that was Lambert getting a free ball. Races to half forward, chips it in towards that centre corridor, punch the ground. Oh, that's very good defensive play. Ackermanis goes wide. He's looking out here. Or Johnson, he could have run and marked that. He waited for the bounce and let it bounce over the line, centre wing.
I think it's the unforced errors that have also hurt Collingwood on a couple of occasions. Anthony Rocker's won possession merely because he's playing in the ruck, playing a kick behind the play. He's won the footy, but just hasn't used it to the best of his ability.
Poor kick. Lambert has it. Funny old hand pass. Ackermanis in trouble. Wide to Lepic. He works it up the ground and past wide out of bounds. 48-point lead to Brisbane, who are heading for their 8th straight win. Club record for the Brisbane Lions. And they'll be going into next week's final series. Cock-a-hoop. They'll have a home final at the Gabba. If they win that, they'll get a second final at the Gabba. And their next appearance in Melbourne could be grand final day on the last week, Saturday in September.
Centre wing. So a lot of the I actually think the sting's gone out of Brisbane a little bit too. They seem to be going through the motions a bit.
And Matthew Clark warming up, ready to come on. No doubt he'll replace Clark Keating.
Well, Keating has been absolutely sensational in the ruck, and to bring on a guy with the ability of Clark, a fresh player who can jump and palm the ball, is going to be a huge asset, particularly come finals time. Rick Ola Renshaw, he was looking for Tarrant. Anthony Rocker is there. Look at Keating working hard in that pack. Diving on the ball was number 18, Lambert. And the umpire will throw it up again.
And boys, more fresh legs for the Brisbane Lions. Luke Powell also ready to come back on. Craig Lambert coming off for him.
Well, they're giving Aussie. It looks like they're giving Lambert little spurts to run him into fitness.
Yeah, pretty smart too. He's had hamstring problems, and you don't want to give him too much too early.
Tarrant was skillful there. He kicks wide, very wide. Not sure why Collingwood want to go to that side of the ground, because there's a million kicks to goal from there.
I also think, Ozzy, the reason why he's been removed from the ground, heavy ground, if hamstring problems, once fatigue sets in, certainly puts more strain on your body.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Mick. Good point.
So, boundary throwing. Tarrant doing a bit of wrestling. Huskis comes over the top and does very well. Ashcroft gets the hand pass from Chris Scott. Orchard in trouble, but did well. Laid a terrific tackle a few moments ago. Renshaw to Tarrant to Williams. Williams puts it out in front. Chance here for Collingwood, but Brisbane get back in numbers, and front and square is Ackermanis. He'll take a free kick.
He's a good player, isn't he, Ackermanis?
Look at the change of direction on the outer side. You've got Kennedy, Power, also Lepich ran extremely hard to space. This is where they set up. Collingwood, in the terms of discipline, have got a man up far quickly. Brad Scott's on in centre field now,
look at that
totally
kick.
by himself.
60-metre kick that found him by Kennedy. Now he can come back inside to Notting. Notting whips around onto his right foot and brings it into half forward. Richardson at the back thumps it towards the boundary line. Lockyer and Power. Back it comes to Brad Scott, who hooks it up in the air. Clark waits underneath it. Thumped away by Tarrant. Mel Michael gets it to Freeborn. Centre wing is Buckley. Buckley swings onto the left. A low trajectory kick. He tried to put it out in front of Brown. Has had a quiet game. Here's Scott Crow. Ackermanis.
Good play.
Oh, yes, that was very, very good play. Here's a good chance. Brown flips it over his head. Burns caught. That strong Brisbane defence off the ground by Sean Hart. Centre wing is Buckley. He's caught. Gets in the hand pass. Michael. Tarrant. Tarrant brings it to half forward. White was the flyer. Still a loose ball at half-back. Rocker flips it out. Oh, he's lost it to Power. And Power chips it across to Ashcroft.
Marcus Ashcroft in between half-back and centre wing. 10 goals 8 to 3 goals 3. So Collingwood haven't scored in this quarter, and Brisbane have added 2 goals 2.
Free kick to Scotland. Umpire deemed he was pushed in the back. Good decision.
He's Scotland, a first-year player, playing his 12th AFL game. And White, just an easy mark overhead. He makes everything look easy.
But he never takes 2 bites of the cherry, does he? Always a 1 grab.
Lawrence. This is great system that Brisbane use coming out of defence. Lawrence up towards centre wing and the ball out of bounds. It seems as though they'll go wide, and if they're not picked up by their opponents, the kick will go that way. If they are picked up by their opponents, there's a second wave of players coming from behind them. They can go in the centre corridor.
Yeah, that's what they try to do, try to create run from behind, and they're very disciplined in doing that.
Centre wing. Burns tried to get his boot to it. Buckley, good handball under enormous pressure. Renshaw. Oh, look at that. Fantastic by White. Brad Scott tried to flick it on. Hart. Now they've got the loose man going. This is Ashcroft. That was a clever kick. Lepich, clever little knock on. Steve Lawrence looks up. He can chip it across, or he can have a shot for goal. He runs to 50. He sets sail for the goal square. Lynch in front. Free kick to Lynch. Holding, no, the other way against Lynch. And it'll go to Preston Giancomo. Lynch not arguing, so he obviously got rid of... Oh, this is a dangerous kick across the ground, but Tarrant gets away from Clark and marks. This Tarrant getting a bit of a run around at the moment by Tony Shaw, letting him get plenty of the ball. Huskis in front. Buckley flies. Brown tried to flick it out. Buckley was looking for someone running past. There was no one there. And the hand pass floats over the line.
And what's actually happening, Pete? Rocker's gone back to full forward. Mark Richardson is used now as a tall defender on Jared Malloy. Chris Tarrant's basically the ruck rover type, matched up against Matthew Clark.
Ball back out of play. Collingwood haven't moved in this quarter. They are scoreless.
And just due to matchups, interesting also to see that Lepich has played him basically on centre wing against Tyson Lane. As Lambert warms up the interchange bench, he'll replace somebody in a minute.
Paul Williams throws the ball on the right boot. The kick to centre wing. Gavin Brown didn't complete the mark, and the ball's out of play. Brownie thinks it's his, but he can't, Gav. That's no mark.
That's a bit of grandstanding. I think he knew he didn't, wasn't paid it.
48-point lead to Brisbane, and pretty comfortable now. Tarrant does well for Collingwood, comes to White. Somehow he gets boot to ball. Lappin. Crow comes back, takes it away. Well done by Scott Crow. Back to a contest. Scott and Buckley, the 2 5s. Lawrence at the back. Terrific hand pass. Ashcroft. Michael. Good mark.
Scott Crow off again for Collingwood, and Andrew Shaw coming back on.
Thanks, Ozzy. Oh, courage needed by Paul Williams then. And he got the mark. That was a very, very good mark under enormous pressure. Nothing really happening on the scoreboard at the moment. Let's see what the Magpies can do. Oh, Rocker shoved his opponent Kennedy out of it. There's Clark kicking wide to Lappin. Orchard is there. Orchard had the pace to get to that contest. He's the quickest player in the Collingwood side without a doubt. To half forward and Patterson. But look at that enormous pressure and over the line again for throwing.
And Pete, what he's doing is what you've made famous. He's having a red-hot go. Orchard.
Yes, he does have a go, Mark Orchard. Played with the Swans. He was used as a tagger up there. But he had a good season with them in his final season there. Lane gets it to Williams in towards half forward. As you can see, nothing happening on the scoreboard. Again, that was Lawrence. He gained about 40 metres round the boundary line for another throw. So this quarter's been pretty ordinary as Craig Lambert comes back on.
Yeah, well, it's just been a quarter of toing and froing. No side has really gained any ascendancy whatsoever in this term. I think one thing that's surely evident, the skill level, even though they're in bad conditions, from the Brisbane team is far superior to Collingwood. Too many Collingwood players under no pressure are turning the ball over.
That's a good effort by Gavin Brown, the veteran. From in between wing and half forward, in short to Burns. Still only at half forward. Burns half distance pass, chopped off by Lappin. It was aimed for Williams, but just a skill error, and it might cost him a goal. Here goes Darryl White, loping down the outer side. Pops it up high, leaping Leppich. Didn't get to the contest. At the front of the pack, McRae, who's been magnificent from few opportunities, and that's just offline for a behind. And Craig McRae has kicked 4 goals, 1.
And Mick, there's no doubt, as you said, that the Brisbane Lions have got the superior skill level. But one thing that has shown out for Collingwood Football Club today is that Nathan Buckley's skill level, and it is far and above a great deal better than any player in his side.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. You look around the ground, Aussie, and to make merit to that point, he's working extremely hard trying to lift his teammate, teammates. Even now he's pushed to half forward, probably to give him a rest, because he's worked extremely hard, not only to win it, but also try to defend and try to encourage his teammates to lift to the intensity he no doubt he tries to offer.
Paul Williams driving a long kick. Look at Lawrence. Back he goes. He has been terrific, Stephen Lawrence. Over to Huskis, and again they run. White, this is the guy that I believe could win them a premiership. There's loose men everywhere. He's gone wide. I'm mentioning White. He has got single-handedly, if he had a real on-day one day, he could win them a flag. Ashcroft's kick was magnificent to Leppich. He must be enjoying this up the ground. He kicks long and wide and sneaks it in for a behind.
And Ozzy, you've played with the majority of these young players. Obviously, the downside is that their inability to man up, especially when the opposition win the ball from a turnover. They've got to defend quickly and get back on their direct opponents.
Yeah, you're right there, Mick. And the other thing that I feel, I suppose, is a worry for Collingwood is the fact that they've been down in the ladder the last couple of years. The younger boys are just being progressed through the ranks in a sort of negative sort of environment. So it's important for the club in general to get up the ladder, not just for the sponsors, but also for the progression of the young blokes.
Relayed free up the ground against Alistair Lynch, and that's a terrific mark by Rupert Batheris. First-year player of a reasonably mature age has come in and played lots of games this year for Collingwood. The ball knocked up the ground. Ashcroft is there. He's got runners going past. Scott off the left, wide, well-delivered kick, and the mark taken by Notting. Notting plays on. Lynch and Lawrence there. Siren beats them, and there'll be no more scoring. Well, it's hardly any scoring in that quarter. Not much happened at all. They kicked 2 goals, 5 in that quarter, Brisbane, to Collingwood, who were scoreless. And it pretty much wraps up the wood. Well, it does wrap up the wooden spoon for Collingwood for only the second time in their history. They last won it in 1976, but Well, Tom Hafey joined the club and they went from last to a grand final. Somebody will join the club next year and hopefully they'll be able to drag him up by the bootstraps as well.
All he can ask for is pride now, Drew.
So at three-quarter time, Lee Matthews comfortable, 10-11 to 3-3.
News at 6 on Prime.
Three-quarter time at Victoria Park and it's all over for the Pies. Brisbane lead 10-11-71. Three-quarter time, or not quite three-quarter time, Western Bulldogs against Port Adelaide, 13-7, 85 to Port, 7-10, 52. And Essendon and Melbourne just across town at the MCG. The Bombers have come back, and Melbourne, who had a big lead early, now Collingwood have been changing their Guernseys after every change. And it's not a bad marketing ploy because they're going to be able to sell the jumpers, but not just 22 of them after this historic game, but 88 of them. But I don't know whether the jumpers will be worth as much today after this sort of flogging as if they'd won. Richard Osborne.
Well, Drew, there's no doubt about Tony Shaw. He's going down fighting. He said this game's still there to be won. He said Brisbane Lions, all they've got to play for is the finals. They're going to just sit back, and he just believes that they're there to be got. He's implored them to play on the outer wing. It's a lot drier out there. A lot of handballs, just direct the goal, boys. Got nothing to lose. Last 30 minutes at Victoria Park.
So we get underway for the final quarter at this famous old ground, over a century old. But Ashcroft gets it away for the Lions. Away to Chris Scott. Long ball to the 50. Malloy caught behind, which worked to his advantage. He wins a possession, keeps it in. Malloy still going. You wouldn't underestimate him. He kicked a great goal earlier on. It's still there for the Lions in front of the Social Club. The umpires are letting things go a long, long time. And eventually Shaw will burst clear to Burns. Over the top he comes with his hand pass. To Lockyer, back to Burns. Collingwood off and running. Good stuff. Williams, good kick to Crow.
Scotty Crow way out over centre half forward. He's going to bring it back towards the pocket. Anthony Rocker should mark. And he does. Out position leverage. Very good effort by Rocker.
Yeah, once again set up by Scott Burns. He's been very good since quarter time. Rocker took the centre bounce, then pushed by kicking straight and giving them an opportunity to gain some momentum for the first time in the game.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Collingwood come home with a bit of a rush in this term. He's kicking for his second, right through the middle.
Well, Anthony Rocker kicked Collingwood's first goal in the first quarter, and he's added a goal in the last. They were scoreless in the third. Will that give them a fillip? Back in the middle, Rocker in the ruck against Keating, who's beaten them all today. Down to Lockyer, to half forward, Crow working Lawrence, tunnels it out, Leppich, chopped off Buckley. Very high, Tarrant in the middle of the pack. Huskus, good trap.
Magnificent contest there by Gavin Brown. No doubt the Collingwood supporters in the outer rise their feet and applaud the ex-captain. We've seen it on a number of occasions. Brown dive in head first at that loose footy.
Well, he was the human torpedo before Thorpe came along. Williams, Rocker outnumbered. Brown front of the pack, goes past him. Lucuria worked off the ball by Lawrence. It was an absolute phenomenon. Strong. Chris Scott, a bit of a fumble. He might have taken his eyes off that. Williams, Buckley buried. Brad Scott to Chris, the two twins combining. Up towards centre wing, Lappin, and a two-fister by Scotland.
The Collingwood bench, Aussie.
Yeah, Patterson, Oller and Shaw, Batheris, and my good mate Gavin Krasiski, who's in a tracksuit, will not play any further part in this game. And the Brisbane Lions, Johnson, Voss, Clark, and Simon Black.
Thank you, Richard, as Keating's back in and doing the ruck work there. Oh, Ackermanis dodging, weaving. Puts his hand pass in, back it goes to Chris Scott. They've always got numbers round the ball. Lambert, he headed for the boundary line then. In fact, he went too wide. and out on the full.
If that's one negative in Lambert's game, that's his ball delivery by foot. Magnificent in close with his hands, but he just probably needs some match time, some ground time to get his legs into a fitness capacity that he can use the footy.
Well, Shawball went to Burns. The crowd calling for him to go back to Shawball, which he does. He can go over the top heel. But Brisbane getting numbers back. And Shawball, a low trajectory kick. Buckley flies. Ball flicks off hands. Lawrence, he's a good little defender. The handball's wide. And that stayed. No, did it? Yes, it's still in place. And oh, what a great smother by Malloy. Huskis originally kept it in. He's caked in mud. Look at that.
I think he realised that he made a mistake by keeping the footy alive. Had to play the percentage that go across the boundary line, but magnificent smother there by Malloy. Once again, Pete, numbers at the ball.
It was terrific. Huskis worked so hard to keep it in, and then Malloy had to work like an absolute demon to get it out about a second later. Oh, power. That's discipline to the top of the goal square. Lynch, he's got Lepich, he's got the Huskis going past. Lynch with strength, somehow got his hands free. And here's a chance. Is this kid any good? He does well nodding towards the goal square. It's up for grabs. That might have been a trip by hand. And it'll be a Collingwood free kick. They've worked it out pretty well. Tarkin Lockyer up towards centre wing. Who'd he kick that to? Well, he was knocked down after he kicked it, so it'll be a relayed free to be taken by Richardson.
Yeah, Luck's a fortune. Didn't really kick it with any purpose to find a teammate. An indiscretion from the Brisbane Lions chaser gave the free kick down the field.
Akamana's had the pace to get there on Tyson Lane and punch it over. And look, there's no substitute for pace because it gets you to a contest to spoil.
Yeah, they're a very quick team, well balanced across the field. I think today, Pete, when the loose balls had to be won, it's been the bodies of the Brisbane Lion team that are going through the line of the ball that little bit harder, gaining momentum. There's another example there. They've just got that urgency to compete. Good sides do that on a consistent basis.
That was Lambert to Chris Scott. Lawrence has had a butler of a game. And look at that kick. Beautiful kick to Sean Hart. He's going to bomb it in towards half forward. Lynch in front. Great attempt. Couldn't mark, though. Prestigiacomo had it taken away by Notting. Notting's going to centre that ball. That's obviously a team rule. You must try and centre it from the boundary line. And Freeborn taps it over the line.
I think it just gives your forwards an area to run to, knowing that the ball will be delivered. It's a responsibility for the player with possession to be aware of where he is. He knows that he's going to kick the ball to the top of the square. The forwards know where they've got to get to. It just creates opportunities.
Keating's played a magnificent game for Brisbane. And he might take a free kick here right in front. Well, not quite right in front, but he's very close to goal.
Yeah, well, it's just a little bit disheartening from Collingwood's point of view. And there's the biggest player on the ground. It's an undisciplined free kick there by Scotland, throwing Keating off the line of the footy as the Collingwood crowd are starting to get involved in this contest with their voice, booing the umpire for that decision.
Ozzy, question for you. You talked about your mate Gav Krasiska sitting it out for the last quarter of the last game this year. Is he going to go on? Have we seen the end of him?
Well, it's funny you say that. I asked him that question last night when we spoke on the phone, and obviously with the change of coach, it's really up to the new coach, I'd suggest, but Gavin does want to go on.
Well, it's in the forward pocket with Lucuria. Here's Buckley, support from Brown. Brown back to Nick Davis, whose dad played here with distinction. Tarrant, Rocker. Rocker tried to thump it on. Well played, Buckley, a great pickup. And we talked about his skill level, and it sure is very, very high.
I think the downside of Collingwood's situation at the time also, Ozzy, is that if Gavin Brown, Gav Krasiska and Damien Monkhurst don't decide to continue on next year, all of a sudden they lose 700 games in experience or close to it. Enormous void to fill.
Yeah, that's for sure, Mick. And that happened last year with the retirement of Graham Wright and Tony Francis and Scott Russell moving clubs. Use one thing, but you need to have that blend of experience as well.
Burns floats a hand pass. Williams goes through with his elbow up. Lockyer's kick is smothered. So Brisbane still competing for everything, even though they lead by plenty here, 72-27. Comes out to Chris Scott. Kick by Scott. Malloy with strength works his opponent off the ball. Jawball. And Malloy marks. Lynch leads. The kick out in front of him. Beautiful!
Keating's on in the goal square too, Drew. If Lynch gets up quickly, he should outmark Glenn Freeborn.
Not going for the score, going for the top of the goal square. Keating juggles, can't mark. Here's the bloke who's kicked goals in front of pack. Oh, McRae, luckily to Hart, and Hart gets the goal. It's a goal. Fantastic, Chris Scott.
Well, we saw a goal kicked by Jared Malloy after a 40-metre punch by Chris Scott. That was fantastic. Lockyer or De Williams, he was caught. Lappin gets it across to Chris Scott. Up in the air, Keating wait. Oh, what a good mark with a slippery ball. Keating, is he a good player? He was looking for Malloy. Here's Lynch working hard, as Ozzy said. Great play, Alistair Lynch. Tried to get his hand pass to it. Umpire has pinged him for holding the ball.
Yeah, good decision. Good tackle there by Burns. Burns has been a terrific competitor today. He's tried to lift his teammates. Worked hard in midfield since he went to that part of the ground. Tried to win first access to the footy.
To towards centre wing. Leppich works towards the line. And Mick, I suppose a great incentive for... Let's have a look at Keating's mark again. Chris Scott hated himself for his kick, which just went up in the air, and Keating was camped underneath it for what seemed like half an hour. Took a terrific mark. Great courage. But the incentive for Brisbane here, when you consider that people of the calibre of Michael Voss off the ground, with a finals campaign coming up, this is such an even squad. You want to make sure you're getting the 22, because these blokes could be premiership players. You don't want to be getting dropped at this stage.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. You are playing for your spot in the team, and that creates terrific morale within the club. And Brisbane, because they've been so good this year, no one who's represented the club this year at senior level would like to be replaced at this time of the year.
Oh, well done again by Notting. Wide to Brad Scott. Lynch over the shoulder. Clever. Oh, just offline.
Turns quick for a big man. Slippery underfoot. But he has found front position
every time
today. He's worked hard to find it. He's got off his opponent and pressed the Giacomo on a number of occasions. That would please Coach Lee Matthews, who we just saw on screen. But Collingwood, from their point of view, they just have to play the game out. They've got to be really hard at the contest, continue to play with a lot of dignity and honour, as the players beforehand have done.
Well, I feel sorry for the crowd, because Collingwood really given them nothing today, as we see Burns go forward. Oh, courage by Eustace. Gee, this is a good back line, and they're exciting. They peel off and they run. There's Kennedy, who's a booming kick. He kicks to a contest. Freeborn and Power. Freeborn did pretty well in, the ex-North Melbourne player. On to Scotty Crow. Here's Rocker. He'll mark. And this could be 50. I reckon the umpire's going to ping him for 50 here. He is.
Undisciplined.
Well, it was unnecessary. It's silly, because you mightn't have kicked it from there, Mick.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that now. It's a gimme goal. I just wouldn't be surprised to see if Lee Matthews decide to bring him off the ground, have a talk to him, and say, irrespective of the scoreboard, to give away 50-metre penalties.
Yeah, you're right, I think, Mick, as Rocker kicks his third. But...
Well, everything here today has been fantastic for Collingwood. The marketing, the promotion. We had a wedding at half-time, a luncheon that started at about 10 o'clock. All the great players of the past were honoured before the game, and everything went great until this game started. And the senior side has let them down. They're going to finish up with a very demoralising loss and wooden spoon.
And Anthony Rocker looks like he's hurt his right shoulder fairly badly. He's just holding it in the middle of the ground. The Collingwood runners out there talking to him now. The doctor's running out, and interested to see how he is.
Yeah, that doesn't look too good. Power comes in. Doc Clark, centre circle, moving forward. Long to Lynch. Malloy, there's a wrestle going on between... I'm not sure how you can say that Lynch was at fault more than Schauble, but he's given the free kick to Schauble.
Well, Lynch was in front too, wasn't he?
Yeah, so Rocker working on that shoulder in the... just off the play. Here's Tarrant.
Chris Tarrant. He's got a running player in Freeborn. Freeborn can chip it further field. Another loose player. This is Scotty Crow. Crow in towards Rocker. Rocker pushed out, pushing the back, said the umpire on Leppich. Lepage was pushed out of the contest when before the ball was within 5 metres. And the young girl saw herself on the screen abusing the umpire, and she quickly stopped. Here's Lawrence, who's been one of the best players on the ground, in my opinion. His dad, Barry, would be pretty proud of what he's seeing at his football at the moment. Kennedy couldn't quite mark the finger tipper. And over the line, and Kennedy gets the raspberry from the Collingwood folk. Let's watch this push.
Yeah, I don't know whether there was much in that. The ball was in the 5 metre range. I thought he just out-positioned himself, or him against his opponent in Lepage. Wasn't in the back.
Here's Gavin Brown at left half forward, delaying and then kicking it inside the 50. Burns in front. Hart for the Lions. Lepage, good combination. Lawrence, what a back six they've had all season. Orchard in a bit of trouble. He's lost it. Ashcroft has lost it. It was a throw. It was going to be a Collingwood free. Advantage to Williams. Burns unmarked and only 30 metres from goal.
And Drew, very good discipline play there by Paul Williams in the situation with the team that were down by so much. He could have quite easily just blazed away, but no, took the sensible option, the discipline option, short to Scotty Burns. Yeah, good point, Aussie. It's quite easy to cover yourself in glory at times like this. A good tackle there by Scott Craig. Great pressure on Ashcroft. Advantage rule was given. Williams looked up, saw Burns run into space and gave it to him on his chest.
And Burns has kicked the goal.
72 came back as captain coach of Essendon. They set fire to the streamers, but they look more like flares or something down there behind the goals. There's Buckley. Let's get back to the action. Tarrant is marked. Let's see if the Magpies in the last 8 minutes can come home with a flurry of goals. He kicks wide. He's looking here for Burns again. He's got him.
I reckon he's been Collingwood's best player. He's worked tirelessly. He's won the footy. He's had a lot of the ball since quarter time. You have a look at his statistics. He had 4 possessions in the first quarter, 6 in the second, 3 in the third, and this will be his 10th possession in the last quarter. So he's worked exceptionally hard for the duration of the game.
Scotty Burns for his second in 2 minutes. That's not a bad kick. That's a beautiful looking kick. It's a goal. So Scott Burns, not noted as a goal kicker, he's more of a down defender or midfielder. Has kicked 2 goals, and the Magpie faithful all of a sudden have got something to shout for.
Yeah, the voice there from the supporters getting involved, but that is a great kick from that pocket by Scott Burns, and that's the reason why he's such a respected player, not only internally but also externally, because he commits himself. Had another limited preparation this year due to injury, but he is such a competitor. He gives his heart and soul for his teammates and also for the club he represents.
Well, Collingwood had managed just 3 goals to three-quarter time. They've kicked 4 in this last quarter, and the crowd are starting to find a little bit of voice. They're getting a bit of football out of the middle. Here's Lockyer up towards Rocker. Yes! Mark paid.
Yep, paid by Peter Keary. Now Rocker should go back, and his body language should say, OK, let's go back, kick the distance. I know I will. Let's go back, aim for that right-hand goal post. Let the ball come back, because I'll certainly get the trim. Under-kicked it.
It's well right, edge of the goal square, and punched through for a rush behind by the defenders.
Andrew, as that happened, Chris Johnson back on the ground for the Lions, and Marcus Ashcroft replaced.
And Ashcroft has been a good player again today, Aussie. He's had 24 possessions, no doubt just resting the midfield group. No Black, no Voss, no Ashcroft for the last 5 or 6 minutes of play. Which goes to show that Matthews is changing his players over in that part of the ground.
Lappin gets it back to his teammate there, Lepage, who did all the running initially. Here's Orchard. He's got enormous pace. That's why he's on McRae. He's pretty nippy himself. Mel Michael, Andrew Shawball. All of a sudden, Brisbane starting to work a little bit harder. Orchard gets it to Michael. Buckley is marked. He gives it off to Williams. Can they get another one? He ran into all sorts of trouble. He's Sean Hart and Matthew Clark. Brad Scott. He's way out on centre wing. He kicks long. He's looking in the direction of Lynch. Lynch has got a couple to beat. Shawball punches at the ground. Off the ground by Scotland. Was that in the full? No. Throw in half forward for Brisbane.
Paul Williams tried to select the second option. Your first option's the best one. Should have kicked it originally when the quick hands was given by Buckley. Ran into a great tackle from the Brisbane Lions player. Turned the footy over.
Here come the Lions up towards the edge of the goal square. The kick coming in from Malloy. Lynch been really good. Flips the ball back for power.
Looked like a throw.
Concede some ground. Brad Scott. And Scott only 40 metres out from goal. Breeze across him from there. And that hasn't proved any gimme range today. 5.5 minutes remaining for Victoria Park as an AFL venue and for Tony Shaw as an AFL coach. But boy, is there plenty to look forward to for the Brisbane Lions.
And he's done a very good job since coming on the ground, playing on Buckley. Nullified Buckley's influence. Buckley had a terrific first half, but in the second half he's been relatively quiet. Scott's been his opponent.
Kick by Scott hasn't made it, and they've rushed it through.
When you get players at this time of the year with the ability and the discipline and the hardness at approach of Brad Scott, obviously it just goes to show the depth of the Brisbane Lions. And there's no doubt, come the last week of September, the way they're playing now, they could possibly be there.
Scotland brings it into Michael, who marks at half back. He's trying to play on, and he succeeds. He kicks wide. Lawrence. Well, he got front position again. Well played. Patheris and Akamanis. Akamanis, geez, a good player now. I reckon he'll be All-Australian at the end of the year. Akamanis is certainly. As we see Power go forward to Johnson. Johnson gives it off to McRae, who's kicked 4 goals. He sets it up for Malloy. Malloy at the back. No mark. His opponent, Prestigiacomo, heads for the boundary line. It's wobbling and out in front of the Collingwood Social Club.
Yeah, good centering kick once again by McRae, I think it was. And kicked the footy to the advantage of Malloy. Just unfortunate from his point of view. He didn't cleanly mark the ball.
Kick by Lockyer. And Kennedy has been part of that great defence this year. Best defence in the league and the highest scoring attack in the league. So it's a combination that's going to prove pretty difficult, not only for Collingwood, who are at the bottom of the ladder. Oh, White!
Geez, a good mark. He's the best one-grab mark in the competition in my book.
Darryl White into the hole, which is closed up by Heath Scotland, who takes the mark back near the back pocket. But Brisbane, far too good for Collingwood today. But, gee, they might be too good for the teams up in the top 8 during the finals. Freeborn went a long way. Scotland.
Scotland coming straight down the middle of the ground with a low trajectory kick. He's looking for Tarrant. It bounces off his chest. Williams went at it. Here's Lacuria. Lepic and Rocker. Lepic in front, went for the double-fisted punch, then tapped it back because he thought White was waiting for it. Rocker to Brown, an up and under kick. Eustace back with the flight of the ball. Burns, can he get another one? Gives it to Scott Crow. It's another goal to the Magpies. They're working hard.
What a 5 goals to 2. Brad Scott for the Lions. Inside 50. Oh, good mark. Magnificent mark taken by Orchard.
I think there's an example of, from a coach's point of view, you'd love to get your matchups right. Collingwood started the game with Tyson Lane on McRae, then Burns moved to McRae. Maybe Orchard, in retrospect, could have been that ideal opponent. Similar size, matched up with the same speed.
Here's Nick Davis up towards centre wing to Mal Michael. Collingwood looking a lot freer now. Gavin Brown. Maybe the Lions have taken their foot off the accelerator just a little bit. Prestigiacomo, but Collingwood finishing well. Presti's kick is smothered. Michael in after it. Ball flipped back by Kennedy. Oh, terrific stuff by Notting. He is a player.
Notting. Buckley might have given a free kick away here. Advantage paid. The umpire did pay it. Here's Power running into goal. He might open up the goals here. Keeps it low, and he's kicked a clever little goal. Luke Power. Yes, that was great play, starting way out on the wing, Mick, and that was a sign of a good play the way he finished off then.
Yeah, I think it was just all due to that tap back there by Kennedy into the path of Notting, open up the play, kept the footy alive because numbers certainly favoured the Brisbane Lions team. There's a free kick against Freeborn on Lynch. But once again, numbers at the ground level ball were there from Brisbane's point of view. Power swooped onto it and ran into an open goal, kicked it along the ground. Very smart play from a good young player for the Brisbane team.
Well, the fans have been told there'll be no coming onto the ground after the final siren, which is only a couple of minutes away. The ground ringed by police and security staff. And there's been a few fears that people might go mad and take a few too many souvenirs, and people will be checked on their way out of the ground. It comes to Sean Hart, front of the pack. Up towards full forward. Well done, Alistair Lynch. Starring roll by Lynch.
Yeah, front position. Percentages say wet footy, late in the game. It'll drop short. Lynch worked his way around the body of Schwarble, his opponent, to take a very good contested mark. No doubt today's performance would satisfy Coach Lee Matthews.
So Alistair Lynch lining up for his 5th goal. And there'll be more activities on the ground after the full-time siren. I don't know what they'll mean to Collingwood fans after the Pies have lost the game. Lynch for his 5th. And there's something to yell about for the Collingwood fans. He hooked it. So give it to the opposition right to the end, even though you're dead and buried.
I know no forward likes to miss them from directly in front. He won't like that. But 13-16 to 8-4. It really has been a bit of a shellacking. At least Collingwood is coming home pretty well. Here's Presta Giacomo. That handball was intercepted. Williams, Buckley, an up and under kick. Eustace lurks at the back. Oh, yeah. That's soft free kick, wasn't it, Drew?
Go back to midfield. There's an example of Collingwood's decision-making. Presta Giacomo hit to the voice of Buckley, not knowing with the awareness of what was going around him, created the turnover.
Well, they did that well. Lappin intercepted well then. Free kick to Darryl White against Crow. Lawrence gets it right now. There's 25 seconds of football left at Victoria Park ever. And so I think we'll count it down, Drew.
And the call's coming from one of the greats, Peter McKenna.
Thank you, Drew, as we see the mark taken for Brisbane on centre wing by Hart. Sean Hart, he kicks it in to Notting. The time clock ticking down on Victoria Park. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. The siren about to go, and that's it. The end of football at Victoria Park, and what a sad day, Mickey McGuan. And it will be a sad day for all the players, all the past players, and all the crowd and all the supporters.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The farewell game from Victoria Park. A lot of emotion, a lot of hype leading into this game. But I think in the end we've witnessed a very good team, and one of the best players on the ground today. Down to you, Aussie, with Alistair Lynch.
Well, Lynch, you played your 200th last week.
Thanks, Richard Osborne. So a 42-point win to Brisbane, who finished the home and away season with 8 on the trot. Their first ever win at Victoria Park. The final score, 13-16-94 to Collingwood 8-4-52. To Collingwood, 8 goals for 52. And the goal kickers, McRae and Lynch got 4 each, Malloy kicked 2, Anthony Rocker kicked 3 for Collingwood, Scott Burns got 2.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Packed house at the park, and Justin Leppich thought he'd just have a quiet chat with some of the Collingwood faithful.
The supporters behind the fence as much as he's coming.
The big day at the zoo.
Might have given a free kick away here. Advantage.
Here's young Power for the Lions, and making it look so easy in the very difficult wet and greasy conditions.
And he's kicked a clever little goal.
And bye-bye to the home of the Pies.
On the day, but look, it was fantastic. As you can see, Peter McKenna going around there waving to the crowd, the biggest run through in the history of football. It was great for the younger players to see. Tony Shaw quite rightly said a few of them were overawed, and I think that was the case. Certainly Nathan Buckley agreed with that. But look, if they're going to get involved in the big time, that's what it's all about. This is a big club, and we want to get it back to these sort of experiences to give something back, because our loyal members have gone through a lot more thin than thick in recent times, and we deserve to give them something. And it's great to see so many turn out today as well for the sausage sizzle. We had about 5,000 over there last night for the disco, Derm. You would have loved it last night. And,
ease up, Ed, ease up. Those days are gone by. I know what the inference is.
We would have found you a drink card too. But the thing was, a lot of people might criticise us for this, but our young players got up and they got a magnificent ovation. It was as if we'd won the flag, not the wooden spoon. But they also knew yesterday out on the ground the gulf between first and last at the moment. So I think it was a good day for the boys to see how big Collingwood can be, but also just where we are realistically on the ground at the moment, and that is last.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I think Tony Shaw has also said that they're the best side that he's met. Brisbane I'm talking about, of course, and they were very, very impressive, very cool, very skillful, and very even. And they must come into the finals feeling very, very confident.
How was the ground, Ron? Was the ground good for them to play their normal style of football, or was it
Well,
a
it was a little bit wet in patches, but I think considering the rain, because they did spend, what, about $500,000 10 or 15 years ago on drainage. It's a very well drained ground, but one would think that it's not the sort of thing they're used to practising on.
No, and their performance would be even better.
Oh, there's a lot of class players, but the evenness and the ability of each player really struck me. They're a very good side. Look at their percentage.
Chuck, and a lot of commentators are saying the competition has evened up. 16th to first, there's no big gap. But I was impressed the way Brisbane put you away yesterday, because you've been playing some pretty good football the last 6 or 7 weeks, you guys.
Yeah, we have played pretty well against probably the top 3 teams in the last couple of weeks. We've seen, only go down by a couple of goals. And yesterday, Brisbane really did play well and got the jump on us early, and, there was no chance for us to get back in the match, really.
Yeah, Tark, and how did Shawry approach it? They seem to have so many different players bob up every week. You try and shut 3 or 4 guys down and another 5 or 6 bob up for...
OK, Nike. There's a Nike sign just there. Now, let's get quite serious, Josh. I know you might play in the finals against them. We get a comment, say, from a bloke that's not here very often about Brisbane. Last year, and all of a sudden, now almost equal premiership favourites. And a great turnaround, and they put their sides away when they get on top.
Yeah, they certainly have turned their form around from last season. We played them 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they were very strong against us. They blew us out of the water in the first half, and they're just a very, very strong, hard-running side.
Go on, Brett.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the pass recs with them. They're a totally different side to last year. That wooden spoon of last year, or that lowly position, is just something that's
Is it just, Ron, what you're getting back 30 years ago, that 90% of the game that Norm Smith's brother, Len Smith, said 90% of the game is played above the shoulder?
Officially hands Collingwood the wooden spoon, and Tony Shaw said it was the worst Magpies had played in 3 months, so it's a big statement. There were ominous signs. Brisbane were without Michael Vice and Simon Black in the second half and still dominated, so BT joins to talk about that one. And was it all too much for the boys?
You be a little bit careful too for us Collingwood people. It was a very emotional day out there.
I appreciate that.
And it was just a little bit overawing for a lot of the young kids in the side, I reckon, and so much of their energies were soaked up in the pre-game activity. Normally in a grand final you're in the rooms or something like that and you go out the ground and play, but they had to be involved in all of the history-making bits and pieces that went on before the game, and it did soak a lot of energy. And really, in that first quarter, Dermot, we said on the radio yesterday, there was only one thing that was going to spoil the party. If the Brisbane Lions kicked the first 4 or 5 goals of the game, it was going to take any of the emotion out of the crowd, and it did just that, and it really was an incredible day. McRae got off to a great start. This is one of the later goals, but we'll show the first 2 goals in the first quarter, and that's the sort of goals he was kicking yesterday, really kicking them out of nowhere.
He was good, wasn't he?
He was very, very good, Dermot. He really set the scene early in the day. There's the first goal of the game, and really helped silence the crowd there. And it was very, very interesting. The Brisbane Lions kicked with a wind in that first quarter. It was a 3 or 4 goal win, and perhaps the Collingwood faithful were saying, OK, we'll accept that we're down at quarter time by 33 points, with the Magpies coming back in the second quarter, but it wasn't to be. And
Mark Richardson, I was just to interrupt you there, Brian, he has had a good month, but really when he came up against a true 6'6" player, Clark Keating, who is going exceptionally well at the moment, he was just outgunned, wasn't he?
Quite unbelievable.
Tennant and his men, who did a great job getting the people out.
As this decade comes to a close, here's your chance to grab something for yourself.
We know he's played some good football over the last 2 or 3 weeks, but yesterday, Dermot, you made the comment several times that this kid really is something to look forward to in the future.
Absolutely. Look, he doesn't try for the skyscraper mark, but he has got some serious jumping ability about him. He's got very good hands. He kicks pretty well for a league footballer. He's not outstanding as a kicker. He's adequate, but he's got excellent hands and he's got some serious, what they call, ups about him. He can really get off the ground.
He can indeed.
He's going to be a super player with a bit more experience under
Collingwood's
his belt.
foot skills yesterday were very, very ordinary. The disposal by foot might have landed in front of the guy or over the head. It just was not good enough. You can't blame the conditions on that. There was no rain pre-game. You know, sure, the surface was wet and that, but the ball was still very much able to handle it, and their foot skills were just absolutely atrocious. Even their superstar Nathan Buckley, who had 28 possessions, leading possession getter on the ground, his use of the ball perhaps wasn't what it would normally be.
Tony Shaw hinted to the fact that he wasn't totally pleased with Bucks' game and the disposal there. Got to say one thing, before the game yesterday, the nearest defensive side to Brisbane, points kicked against, that is, was 200 points behind them, and yesterday we saw why they are the best defensive team.
Did they just come out in flood formation from the back line? You saw Kennedy there. He took on Rocker at the start of the game. Rocker kicked a few goals for the game, but Kennedy was very good linking up. Lepage takes a mark here at half forward, but basically his responsibilities were defensive. Not unusual to see him in that position, kicking from 50 or 60 metres out. It's the type of backman he is. Darryl White was played off the half-back line. Have a look at this. You know, Kennedy, Lepage, White, Huskis. I mean, he looks unfit at the moment. Looks like he's carrying a bit, but he just gets out there, huffs and puffs, and really does his job.
They really seem to be championing it a bit. Just watching the first quarter when they were dominating play out forward, their backman in Huskis, Scott, they seem to be championing a bit to get up and get involved, and they're running aggressively.
Every time the ball went Collingwood's forward line, it appeared that the Brisbane Lions outnumbered them 3 or 4 to 1. There were never anyone on the ground. Anthony Rocker would go and compete in the air, and there'd be the 2 or 3 Brisbane Lions players at ground level, and it really was the back line. And that is the thing that in finals we know scoring is very difficult, and there aren't too many high-scoring finals games.